that nothing else quite does. And so there we have the two headlines. Let me ask you, though, a lot of questions about what happened on Saturday. Can you explain to us in layman's terms why Midtown went dark on Saturday night?
Absolutely, Joe. So this is the first serious blackout we've had in 13 years in this city. It went on for about 5 hours. About 70,000 customers were affected. And then Con Ed was able to restore the power. Something went wrong in one of the transmission stations. We're going through a full investigation with Con Ed to understand it and make sure it doesn't happen again. But to your previous point, when you're chief executive of the nation's largest city, 8.6 million people, one of the capitals of the world, these kind of things have to be dealt with. And I got together with my team. We made sure that all the first responders were right there, and they did an incredible job. FDNY, NYPD, emergency management, they did their job beautifully, and people got the help they needed, and it was over in 5 hours. And when you're chief executive, you have to make sure the right people are in place and they're doing the right things, and folks did a great job. And New Yorkers are resilient. And that's the other thing to remember here. New Yorkers take these things, they do right by each other, they support each other, people are directing traffic, helping each other out. And I have to tell you, every time there's a challenge, there's some adversity, New Yorkers step up.
Yeah, and they certainly did this time as well. So what do you take of the criticism people have aimed at you? The New York Times this morning claimed that you, quote, dithered. You saw the two tabloid headlines there. What more could you have done? You were in Iowa, didn't know this was going to happen. What more could you have done that you did not do when you were out of town?
Joe, again, when you're a chief executive, it doesn't matter where you are. You're in charge of your team and making sure people are executing the plan. Obviously, the fire department, the police department, emergency management prepare for situations like this. The important thing was to get the right people in the right place. And folks did follow that plan, and that's why it was handled. Not a single injury, 5-hour duration. Anyone who was having a problem, our first responders reached. So the bottom line is I got information, had to make decisions, had to make sure people were doing the right thing. And that's something that I have to do wherever I am, and any chief executive has to do. And honestly, if you're a chief executive, you understand the world differently than if you're a legislator, for example. God bless legislators. But I'm responsible every time to make sure that if there is a crisis, it's responded to. As I said, it's been 13 years since a serious blackout. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. Working with Con Edison, we'll hold their feet to the fire. But really what happened here was our agencies performed exactly the way we prepared them to perform, and they got to people and they provided the help people needed.
So, Mr. Mayor, I asked you to come on the show to talk about NAFTA. It's the